Hi, I'm Pat and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm at Kassel Performance in York, Pennsylvania with the BMW i8 to see what kind of numbers it can produce on the dyno. But before we get to that, I gotta add a little bit of dialogue because I just finished editing this video and I think it's very important that I share a few points with you before you move on. I know you want to know the numbers and I know you're probably gonna scroll right to the end and you're gonna be able to see all the performance figures and then say, oh, this is better or this is worse, and probably even get into an argument in the comment section. But I need you to pause for a second, just hear me out. Number one, this was a learning experience. It was a learning experience for me. It was a learning experience for the dyno operator, Jim at Kassel Performance. They had never had a BMW i8 on their dyno. And I just want to share with you a few things that I learned. First off, number one, the numbers that BMW produces for this car, 357 horsepower, 420 pounds-feet of torque, are wheel horsepower and torque numbers. They're not crank numbers. And there's probably a reason for that. I don't know the reason. So when we took the car to the dyno and I saw the numbers, I said, these are way too high. There's no way. There's no driveline loss here. That's because I was trying to compare the wheel numbers that we got at the dyno to crank numbers, and that's not how this car was evaluated from the factory. Number two, this is likely the most comprehensive video of the BMW i8 on a dyno on the internet as of this recording, which means that you may go out and try to find other videos and other graphs and possibly get into a fight in the comment section. Don't do it. Everybody has their own way of evaluating these numbers, and when I compare the numbers that we got to the numbers that other people got, and there are only a few of them out there, and I think it's just best to say they are what they are, and I have what I have, but it may lead you to question a lot of things because I did, and I'd prefer not to. I want this video to stand alone as a piece of data and as evidence to see exactly what this car can do at this particular dyno on this particular day. Also, we had high temperatures and high humidity. York, Pennsylvania, I don't know exactly how high it is as far as altitude above sea level, but we were talking about an 80-degree Fahrenheit day, and it had rained all night. We had thunderstorms. There was a lot of humidity still evaporating from the ground into the atmosphere. So it was a hot day. It got hot at the dyno. So we have issues with heat soak, and we have issues with, of course, a high density altitude. So please keep that in mind when you look at the numbers. And one final point I need you to consider. The stock numbers we got on this car looked so consistent and so flat that it is almost alarming. For a car to produce this much power and have it look so consistent run after run and be practically flat, especially with the torque numbers, it makes me wonder what's going on because it doesn't really produce numbers like most other cars. And there was something that I had read in the information about the BMW i8 where they talk about torque vectoring, how they can modify which torque goes to which wheel, especially for handling in corners. But my thought is then, what is it doing on the dyno? If you have a front motor that's slowly peeling off power, because it does that after 5 seconds in order to reduce heat, you know, when is the mid-engine coming in to fill that power? And why don't we notice that on the graph? I get into some of that discussion in the video, and I think that there really needs to be further investigation into what torque vectoring is actually occurring on the BMW i8. So there's a lot of information and a lot of data here. Follow up, I'm going to have a video next that talks about my experiences with the tune, and I'm going to do some 0 to 60 runs with Draghi. So stay tuned on that. If you're watching this video in the future, there'll be a link in the description below. Let's get on with it. Now, I've been to Kassel Performance before with a few friends of mine, specifically Thick Garage. He brought his 5 Series BMW i8 up here, along with my friends Get Exhausted and Exhausted Outdoors. But this is the first time I'm bringing the BMW i8 up to Kassel to see what it can do on the dyno. Now, our plan is to do a stock run, get some numbers, and then after that, try a few different tunes. Number one, Kassel wants to try their tune on the BMW i8, and I have a friend of mine out of the UK who's been tuning his BMW i8, and I want to see exactly what performance figures he can produce. Charging. Whoop. All right. Sweet.
Okay. I posted a picture on Reddit. Someone's like,
I'm going around the north door here.
So while strapping this thing down, they discovered that the best way to do so would be to come around the control arms in the back and come in towards the center. So it's providing a little less torque in any other direction other than towards the center of the vehicle.
you bring any donuts back? These donuts good for 6 horsepower.
Yeah, they're also good for 6 pounds.
We got some technical questions on how we want to set it up to cool it.
Okay.
Does it have a traditional RPM on
Yes.
the engine? Does it have a traditional?
You can put it in roller mode, which is really simple. I can show you how to do that right now without it rolling.
Okay.
So the key's in it already. So I'm not going to put my foot on the brake or anything. I'm just going to turn it on. And after I turn it on, I press and hold the trip reset. Oh, there it is. So if I just keep pressing and hold past the engine oil reset, now I'm down into the identification system test start roller, and literally if I press, now I'm at start roller, press and hold. Now I'm in this mode. I should be able to turn traction control off at this time.
Should turn it fully off, right?
I would hope so. There it is. Okay, yeah, press and hold completely. So press and hold that for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then we get DSC completely inactive and it's in roller mode. Now, in order to start it, you're gonna put your foot on the brake, you're gonna put it in gear, and then you're gonna move the lever over to the left, and that'll start the mid-engine. So now you're all-wheel drive, and at that point, just hit the downshift, and you're in first gear. So you have shifter paddles, or you can use the center controller to shift.
How fast wheel speed does this first gear take me?
I'm going to tell you that your 0 to 60 is going to happen at the beginning of third gear. So first gear is not going to take it to 60. I don't know. I don't remember. But I know that it's 1.14 to 1 final ratio on your fourth gear, and your fifth gear is more of an overdrive, like 0.82. So I think fourth gear is the best gear to run it in.
Cool in fourth gear, and it has a traditional rev counter for me. Where
Yes.
is it currently? It's like
That'll be on the right.
rev cut.
It's a 6,500 RPM. When you turn DSC off and everything off, it should push it to 6,500. Now it will probably shift for you automatically. That's the one thing. Maybe not in roller mode, but by default, if I have it in fourth gear manual and I keep pushing it, as soon as it hits 6,500, it automatically shifts to fifth.
All right.
Down here there are louvers, and these louvers will close at a certain speed typically, but when it's in roller mode that may not be the case.
Keep an eye and acknowledge to see what happens there, so we can actually see.
Sure.
Have you expected any numbers or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know, man. I have no idea what it's going to do. I really don't know. You know, yeah, there's no predictions here. I have no idea what this is going to do. Heart rate's 112 right now, so yeah, it's a little high compared to what it usually is. So he's just setting up the dyno now, doing a couple tests here, setting where we're going to test the RPM bottom and the top. He's able to do that type of configuration right here. So we're setting the scale, going to make sure everything is calibrated the way it needs to be calibrated, set for torque. Yeah, for a 3-cylinder.
Consistent results, back to back.
Good.
Consistent back to back. Doesn't look like it heat soaks too bad right now.
Right.
So you can get it added within a horsepower or two. Torque is great. Hits hard early, then tries to hold on. We're gonna tune on a car that's making 400 something horsepower or 400 torque, and within 2 or 3 of it, it's consistent within less than 1% of
Wow.
variances. And you'll see this on some cars back to back. You'll be 30 in either direction. It's nice to see that it really is. You've got it charging right now. You're running up your battery. How long will your battery last for pulls like this?
Okay, so this will give you full power for 5 seconds. And then after that, it will start to diminish the amount of power that's coming from the front engine, from motor. And the reason for that is the cooling. It's going to get so hot that it can't keep it cool anymore, that it decides, okay, you got 5 seconds for your immediate off the line, and now I'm going to start throttling back on the electric. So you will not get, as he's doing this pull right now, when he goes full throttle, he's got about 5 seconds of torque coming from that front motor before it's all going back to the back. And I don't know how long it takes, but at some point this fall off may be more related to the electric motor is going to start to dip off, where the mid-engine is going to start to come in, and you just can't see it. So we'll see what they can do. I mean, if they're able to pull a little bit more off of it without heat soaking the engine, then that's one of the issues that this thing has. If you push it too far, it's not good, especially with the turbo. There's no other pipe coming off that turbo. It's the stock flexible pipe. So hey, we'll see. They're going to mess around with the tuning and upload a new file to it and see what they can do. And I'm curious to see what the graph changes to be honest with you. So let's see. And we got my friends here today. So quick introduction. We got Subtle and Evan from Thick Garage, and we got Jeff from Get Exhausted. Now, I help promote their channels as much as I can. Check them out. They have excellent content, and I'm so grateful that they took the day off of work to be here today to check out the BMW i8 on the dyno. All right, our tune is done. We're going to make another run. We're going to see what performance figures come out of this. So this is their flash that he's performed, and on initial run here, that exhaust definitely sounds loud. All right, here's the difference.
we picked up 34 torque. I think we picked up 18 wheel. We picked up more area under the curve everywhere. Just after the first one, I'm going to make some Vanos changes and see if we can get this thing to make it a little more carry on up top, a little bit harder.
Sure, absolutely. No, absolutely.
There's the first kind of revision. Like I said, I don't have experience on this one.
Sure.
As far as the rest of the Valvetronic 6-cylinders, we do extensive tuning experience, so it's kind of very similar. It's just a matter of seeing how it responds here at this platform.
Well, sure, yeah, you got to learn it. That's the thing. Just going to run another tune. They made some more modifications. Let's see what it'll do in the dyno. Okay, cool. Right.
Pull some time out, so it's kind of getting a little choppy.
Yes.
You can see a little bit of graph.
Yeah.
I tried to see if it was smoothing it and actually did it as on power, which is expected.
So the first time was probably your best, is what you're saying.
Yes, I'm going to roll back to, if I were to release one, it would be more similar to that first one.
Got it.
Let me do Alex's now.
Yep. Right now we're going to go back to my friend's tune, Alex. So Alex daily drives his BMW i8. He's also a tuner, so he has the opportunity to see exactly what the car is going to do on the road. Now he's made some modifications as far as being able to tell that mid-engine to come in with a little bit more power at the beginning rather than depend completely on the front electric motor. And what that does is, well, depending on the front electric motor, increases efficiency, it reduces emissions, but we want to try to get the most we can out of this and improve drivability. So if I can take this car out on a daily basis and decide, you know what, I'm going to hammer it right now, I want to feel that torque, and that's what Alex told me that I'm going to get with his tune. So of course we're going to put it on the dyno now. He's not promising any type of horsepower or torque numbers, obviously. This is really a drivability tune, but we are very curious to see exactly what we're going to get on the BMW i8 with Alex's tune. Okay, so now we're going to put Alex's tune on the car and see what it'll do. Yeah.
In case it's heats up or anything like that, so we get a nice, like, honest.
It looked like it was close to what you did in your second tune, as far as numbers were concerned. Interesting.
I'm going to make one more change back to mine probably again, too. I want to run one more thing I'm talking about.
Sure, that makes sense. Can you compare it to stock again real quick?
Probably just an anomaly from the way it rolls in.
Okay. Yeah.
Another one of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would get harder. So while we're on,
Yep.
this is a stock one.
Yep.
Similar definitely has a pain, so like 44 grand up. Under measurement where we were at this upper echelon for the whole thing.
Yep.
Make some changes up top here to see what's going on.
All right, so we're gonna let it cool down for a little bit. We're gonna run it again and then see if these numbers change at all. Because the more it gets heat soaked, obviously, we're gonna see less performance coming out of the car. So getting a chance to see what Alex's tune is compared to stock and compared to the latest Kassel tune as well. And, well, we'll just see. All right, Alex's tune again. Next time we're gonna see what we get now. We let the car cool down a little bit. Say again?
That's down to there, that means we're not getting any additional battery.
Okay, yeah, it looks like our battery is pretty much down to nothing. So you're not getting any compensation from the motor up front at all. You're strictly on mid-engine. Yeah.
Which is why probably the last 2 or 3 runs also started to
Okay.
aggressively go in that direction. It said like 2 miles, 3 miles.
Yes. So when you're full throttle, obviously it's going to rob from that motor, rob from that battery. But you can boost it up about 2 or 3 miles if you put it in drive and just let it run. Like put it in sport mode and then just let it idle with the wheels turning. That way it'll actually start to spin the generator. So it's a belt-driven generator. Now, you may have to get out of roller mode. I don't know. It may not charge when it's in roller mode. That might be part of the problem. So now that it's not in roller mode, it should charge. Don't push it too hard because if you do, it's going to start robbing power from the battery. It's typically in sport mode, this will charge the battery. But when you're in roller mode, it's saying just take all the battery at one time. So he's at the point now where he has absolutely no battery left. So he's getting no power from the front at all. So the way to charge the battery is you plug it in, but that's slow. But if you put it in sport mode and drive the car slowly, the starter generator will generate power for the mid-engine. Say that again?
I can feel it's not making the same power. How do we charge it to, like, how does the system normally work? When it's charged, what does it go up to? How many miles?
Rate of charge. It can only give a high rate of charge for a certain period of time. Then once you get to peak capacity on a battery, it starts to cut back. So.
Right, so you can sit here and drive it?
Say again?
Should I just drive it a while?
I would just drive it in sport mode, yeah. I wouldn't push it, but yeah. something? That's awesome. All right, so the one interesting thing about the BMW i8, obviously, is as you drive this car at high speeds, you're going to degrade the battery. So my whole point in trying to help Jim here at Kassel get this car up to max battery capacity is to put the car in sport mode and let the starter alternator actually generate the power for the batteries. So that's what's happening right now. He's literally set it to 40 mile an hour in cruise control, and he's letting it spin on the turbo, or letting it spin on the dyno. All right, we just finished up all the work on the dyno here with the BMW i8, did a road test. Things are working pretty well. I'm looking forward to actually getting it on the road and giving more seat of the pants feel and really a good review of what we were able to accomplish with the i8. I really just want to give him an opportunity to tell out of his mouth what we're able to accomplish today.
We'll look at the results here. I think the data speaks for itself. Here we have three tunes. One is our tune, one is Alex from Yorkshire DPF in the UK, and the other one is just a stock pool. We did averages of several different pools, and we were able to come up with the plots that we have here. I think what's important is with Alex's tune from Yorkshire, we were very low on battery reserve, so I don't think that we had quite the assist that we'd want to have. So we should probably run it again here in another month or so. Pat said he's going to come back, and we'll run it again just to try to get some other data points. We'll run it stock again, and then we'll also run it tuned. What the data does show, though, here's all three of the graphs. We were able to pick up power throughout the entire rev range. Down here where the turbo's hitting harder, I would say that this is somewhat of an anomaly, that on our tune we do have a pretty hard spike here. This can happen based off of wastegate adaptations or any type of rolling into it. And I would say that this data right here probably should be almost ignored, just because it does come in a little bit harder, and not all the runs were as consistent where it would come in that hard. So take that area with a grain of salt, and that's where you're going to see your biggest delta, but it should at least be acknowledged that it may not be consistent with every single run. And then the same thing with Alex, or with Alex's tune, that it came in actually lower, and that could have just been the way I rolled into the pedal, because I was starting the pulls at 2,300 RPM on the log gear, but I went wide open throttle around 2.
So what did you think of the i8 on the stock tune? The first time you saw the numbers, what were your thoughts?
Extremely impressed. Our dyno reads extremely low for other Mustang dynos in the area. We see about an 18% drivetrain loss from a manufacturer to what we see at the wheel here. To other Mustang dynos in town, we see about a 10% variance, and then to a dyno jet, we see that they make about 15% more. If you were to take this today to a dyno jet across town, you would see about 15% higher in the numbers. To see that we hit here on the stock tune, it was 421 wheel torque, is pretty incredible. The way that it's the first time I've ever driven one, the way I would describe it, it's very mature. It's modern. It's the power delivery is smooth and refined. It's not raw. It's not a supercar experience. However, it is a very direct experience and a very
it's impressive and it feels good and it continues to pull, and we see that in the curve too, where the horsepower does continue to pull the whole way to the rev limiter. You're not seeing it falling off up top like you would sometimes expect on some of these cars, the twin turbo gas cars or
Oh, really?
single turbo gas cars.
Why do they do that? Out of curiosity, why do they end up rolling it off?
They're all turbo driven, and they don't have a big enough turbo up top to continue to make them power. And with the addition here of the electric motors, you're able to carry it on, and it does make for a really nice feel.
That's a good question too. As far as turbos are concerned, if you were to put a bigger turbo on this car, for example, would you, number one, or do you think it's good the way it is? That's the other thing.
Ultimately, going to be moving a lot of heat, and I think that heat is going to be a problem that you're going to be battling with a bigger turbo and something like this.
Sure, especially since it's a water-cooled intercooler as well. You're limited.
You want to push a 1.5 3-cylinder like to the limit. I don't necessarily think that's probably a great idea.
Right.
I think that if we ran ethanol on it, I think that the extra cooling properties, the additional fuel, and the fact that we can get quite more wild on the calibration itself would be considerable.
And that makes sense too. With the Koenigsegg Gemera, they're running ethanol on their 3-cylinder, and they're getting 600 horsepower out of that thing.
And they I think you would love it, but if you want to do that down the road.
No, I don't want to.
Or even if we want to just have a day where we just run just ethanol, just to play with it, and then roll back to 93. We can do.
We
that.
might be able to try that. I know that there are a lot of BMW i8 salvage engines out there, and anybody that watches me know that I buy salvage parts and I take them apart and I try to find out what they're made of. So I don't know. Maybe if I get more subscribers and some more monetization money, we might make an engine swap and just do something like that down the road, right? I have to worry about my daily driver. All right, so I want to thank Jim for his time. Obviously, it was cool to get up here last time with Thick Garage and Soto. Had a great experience here last time, and obviously had a great experience here this time. So I'm going to take this car out on the road, see what it feels like. But Jim, appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
And be sure to check out Kassel. I'm going to have links in the description below for both Instagram and their webpage as well.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming.
And you're running on your Euro tune right now.
Yeah, this is Alex's tune, and I'm in sport mode, and I notice when I go to pull out, like, I don't have any lag. Like, it's there. Whereas if you pulled out before, there seemed to be a tiny bit of lag before things caught up.
Sounds good even over the phone.
Yeah, I only gave it like a third pedal. I wanted to see. I don't feel any difference right there, but I wanted to see what it would do.
Man, that torque. That's crazy.
That was full pedal, but that was a early shift.
That torque.
That feels a little different to me. Like, just giving it full pedal in second gear, that feels a little bit different to me because I'm not used to... See, if I get too much torque in a car, it almost feels like my organs are being pressed into my spine, but I never felt that in the i8 before, and I sort of felt that a little bit now. So that's one thing that I can tell that's a little different. Hey, here's Maserati.
Right there.
So second gear pushed me back in the seat more than it did before. So typically what I felt was first gear would put me in the seat and second gear would just leave me there. Second gear actually pushes me into the seat doing it. So right now I'm in comfort mode. I'm on battery, so as I pull out, I'm just gonna have a normal, quiet pull out. I'm just gonna wait till I have a little bit of a clearing, then I'm gonna floor it. The engine will then kick in and then see what we get. So yeah, it was a gentle engagement with the mid-engine as it should be. So I didn't notice like any hard hit with the mid-engine at all, which is good, because that would be worse. You don't want that mid-engine to kick in and have immediate torque right away, because that's just going to hurt the driveline. What are your thoughts?
Sure
Evan?
is.
It's crazy how much horsepower that little 3-cylinder can do. Like, I didn't expect the i8 to have this much power, because you always hear people say, "Oh, the i8 is slow, the i8 is slow," but it's not. It's quick. I mean, it's not like long ways. It's not going to be fast, but it's quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you felt that much torque in your life before?
No,
Really? Okay.
that's the most torque I felt.
I can hear you, right?
Yeah.
He's being honest.
How far we go? We're not going through the bridge, are we?
No, I'm gonna take the next exit.
Doesn't it take you over now?
You notice a big difference?
I only notice it more in the lower gears.
Mm-hmm.
So the top gears, I don't feel much of a difference, which would be typical, would be normal.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very normal. So like right now I'm back in comfort mode, hold state of charge, so my mid-engine's running. That's what you see in the graph here. You see the mid-engine is in orange, and then if I let off the gas, you'll see the front tires light up, and that's regeneration. But yeah, the mid-engine's running and the electric's also running to power the car. So obviously just a quick short stretch of road right now, really not pushing the car too much, but getting to see exactly what it'll do, I was pretty impressed with it. So I'm going to take a little bit more time to test this thing out and obviously produce the results, because I know my audience is insanely curious to see exactly what we can pull off here in the BMW i8. So I want to give a special thanks to my friends here. We got Jeff from Get Exhausted, we got Soto and Evan from Thick Garage. Please check out their YouTube channels. There'll be a link in the description below. I appreciate them coming out, hanging out for the day. They didn't have anything done to their cars, but they enjoyed spending some quality time with some car guys, and that's what it's really about. So this will wrap up this video for now. I'm going to produce another video with more content about my experiences of the BMW i8 on the road after this tune. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, ring that bell for notifications, give me a big thumbs up, and we'll see you again. Happy motoring.